Hey everybody, we're live and it's a special earlier edition of Zennie62 trying to move the schedule up and give more people time to catch us at more of a evening prime time hour. But and I want to really do a tight ship, so this is an hour long program. My friend AP Steadham is here. He is the reigning SEC football and especially Alabama Crimson Tide expert. AP, welcome back to Zennie62.
Hey, Zenny, thank you for having me on the show. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, and it's always great to have you. We had a really spirited conversation last time. I think that was memorable, and I have to take that as a time bottle. We were arguing about paying players. AP I think wanted to come through the lines and say, "What are you talking about?" It was a great conversation. Uh,
That's
but
all discussion. That's all.
no, it was fun, man. I really thought it was one of the best conversations I've ever had on the subject. No, you know what? I take that back. It was the best conversation I've ever had on that subject. And hey, Barry Lee, how you doing? Welcome. If you're going to tweet this out, Barry Lee, please tweet this out under hashtag SEC football. Thank you. Hey, without any further ado, what is, in your opinion, AP, the state of SEC football as we speak on this Sunday draft week, beginning of NFL 2018 draft? Yeah.
Well, I think the best thing about SEC football right now that there's someone who could challenge Alabama on the other side of the East Division, which is Georgia. Kirby Smart went back there. He was on the Alabama staff as a defensive coordinator, and he had different offers and conversations with people through the years, but he waited till his alma mater, University of Georgia, was open. He became the head coach. So last year he came within an eyelash of beating Alabama, probably a couple of plays. So Alabama's got to be ready to contend with the Bulldogs of Georgia. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they are?
Oh, I think so because Kirby has recruited quite well. He seems to know how to develop the players just like Nick Saban, and he has strong quarterback play. Jake Fromm was there last year, the freshman. They brought in Justin Fields, who was some people rated him the top quarterback in the country. He's a freshman this year. He might even displace Jake at the quarterback position. So that's how talented the Georgia Bulldogs are at that position, which is incredible. They had one of the quarterbacks transferred back to the University of Washington. He was highly sought after. So when you have the quarterback, Zenny, that's a perfect storm to beat Alabama because you just can't line up against Alabama and say you're going to run over them. You have to have a quarterback that's very capable and throw the ball downfield and relieve that pressure because there's no team really that has run over Alabama since Nick Saban's been there, except Ohio State when Ezekiel Elliott had 200 yards in the Sugar Bowl game, the college football playoff semifinal a few years back.
I remember that
very
game.
few teams, very few teams have manhandled Alabama.
And now, do you think that ESCC is getting to a point where, considering how well Vanderbilt did against Georgia the year before, it's becoming more commonplace to have that game where a team looks like it does manhandle, if not Alabama, Georgia, or some other team? In other words, is there more parity? Is it a case of having more parity in the SEC and then Alabama, or is it that Alabama as well is susceptible to this new balance of talent or talent, which seems to be a talent balance in the SEC? Correct me if you think I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, I think that Georgia is comparable. Florida has a brand new coach in Dan Mullen, who's won in the SEC as the coach of Mississippi State. He was the coordinator when Tebow was there for a number of years. So I think they'll be on the rise. South Carolina, I think, overachieved under Will Muschamp. Kentucky can play a tough game every once in a while. It just depends. I'm talking about all the teams in the East right now. Vanderbilt, they've been in a bowl a couple of times in the last 3-4 years. Looking over on the west side, you have Jimbo Fisher. He's another Nick Saban protege, the new coach at Texas A&M. They have all the facilities. You're in the state of Texas. He recruits very well. So look out for them in the next few years. Arkansas has a new coach. They're regrouping with Chad Morris, came from SMU. You have Ole Miss. They're facing some probation and difficult times. Mississippi State with a new coach, the offensive coordinator from Penn State, Coach Moorhead. So he's a good offensive mind, and and then you have a team like Missouri has one of the better quarterbacks in the league. They're in the Eastern Division. So I think right now the two top tier teams are Alabama and Georgia, and then you have Tennessee with a brand new coach as well. He came from Alabama. He was a defensive coordinator. So there's some teams that have to regroup. But right now, Georgia in the East and Alabama in the West.
Barry Lee has a question for you. He asks, does the SEC plan on expansion anytime soon, or are they staying at their current level of schools?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be expanding at this moment, but I can guarantee that they have a plan if something breaks loose with all these different conferences. I mean, they have their eyes on some teams, I'm sure. I think, you look at if they could ever get Texas to come over and maybe like a North Carolina, let's say. Mm-hmm. I think those would be two prime teams.
So really, if there were a kind of a hierarchy of needs in terms of future expansion, you would say the Texas Longhorns are at the top of that list for the SEC?
I would think so. That looking to the West, that'd be a prime candidate. I know years ago they tried to get, I think it was Miami and Florida State.
I remember that. Yep.
And they chose, they chose to stay in the ACC, which is fine. But there's a number of teams that would be acceptable to the conference. But those two stand out for me: University of Texas and University of North Carolina.
Hey, I'm curious. In your mind, is Dan Mullen right for the Florida program?
Well, he's been there before and had success as an assistant coach. Now, I'm not sure who else they wanted besides Dan Mullen. I'm not sure who else would have fit better than Dan Mullen. I mean, you could have got a number of people, but I think he's won at Mississippi State. He came within a few games and maybe staying at number one a few years back with Dak Prescott. So you know that he can coach quarterbacks and get his team to perform offensively. And Florida has been down, strangely enough. They haven't been able to score enough points, all those fast receivers and running backs and quarterbacks, yet they have not been able to recruit effectively and develop the players to be at the top of the league in offense, which is
what's happened since
I can't understand it.
What's happened since what's happened since the Urban Meyer years when they had Tim Tebow and gave Georgia fits in that one game that I thought Georgia should have won at the Georgia Dome. If we should say now the late Georgia Dome since it was demolished, right? But what's happened to the Florida program?
Yeah, like anything, Zennie, there's one or two things. It's either the coaching or recruiting or both. So I think definitely the recruiting was down. Why they couldn't get people to attend University of Florida in Gainesville is beyond me, because they're willing to throw the ball around and give people a chance to highlight their skills and their talents, but they maybe miscalculated or didn't get the top level of players to go to the University of Florida.
Hey, we're on with A.P. Steadham. He is a longtime Alabama Crimson Tide football reporter and expert, and on SEC football, who I met at the NFL draft many moons ago. But AP has some really special stuff coming up. But since it's just 10 after the hour, I want to continue on the topic of the SEC overall. Do you think, and this is a burning issue I have, I don't know, I'll just say it straight out, AP. I think Jimbo Fisher is going to fail at Texas A&M. Part of it is, I have to be honest with you, kind of a wish fulfillment, because I'm really still hot under the collar over Kevin Sumlin being fired by Texas A&M, even though he picked up a great gig at Arizona. He didn't have a losing season, did he? So where does Texas A&M go from here, and why should anyone expect them to go up?
Texas A&M, Zennie, they're kind of been an enigma through the years because they've had all the facilities. They're, I think, one of the top 10 endowments in the country besides the University of Texas, Harvard, Yale. I mean, there's plenty of money and resources, and they have beautiful facilities, stadium, and there's interest in the sport, of course. They're always trying to challenge University of Texas, and they went to the FCC. Thank you very much. And when University of Texas had that network, they formed that network. And I was told that other teams were invited to be part of that network, but all declined. I'm saying how do you let a team have their own network in your conference? It's just unbelievable. Yeah, but it hasn't. Texas hasn't been able to take advantage of it really.
Hey,
because they haven't won the championship in a while, right?
Right. Hey, on that note,
But
I have to slip this in. Barry Lee asks, has any other school tried to get their own TV deal like Texas did in the Big 12? Just curious.
I'm not aware of any such team or university trying to get their own network. I mean, Notre Dame is part of NBC, and Texas has that Longhorn network, but I don't think there's any other school. It's amazing, Zennie. A team like Texas is the only one right now. They have the Big Ten network, the SEC network, ACC. They have a network. They're going to have a network. So, but no one team besides Notre Dame being part of NBC has their own network like the Longhorns. And like I say, they have yet to take full advantage with the football team at least.
Hey,
developing a championship type team.
One of my viewers, Rob Iman, says BYU has their own network. How about that?
Oh yeah, right. That's right. I stand corrected. Thank you for reminding me, because I watched that station at times when I was around that cable system that brought the BYU team.
Yeah, Barry Lee, as he says, he heard that ESPN is losing big time financially with a Longhorn network. You hear anything about that by chance?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt. No, I don't know if it's fair that. Well, I think the deal was for something like $500 or $600 million or something, I believe, for X amount of years. 10+ years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that's a lot of cash.
It is a lot of cash. Hey, do you think
to get one school?
Do you think, just speculatively, I don't expect you to have the right answer or anybody right now, but I'm going to speculate. Do you think the main problem, just having heard this for the first time myself, is that perhaps the focus, the audience they're trying to reach is one that tends to use smartphones and watch television less and less? Do you think maybe it's not that the audience isn't there, it's just that they don't know how to get to the audience anymore,
Yeah, I think maybe that's part of the situation, and I don't think Texas is winning enough to draw the interest.
That's a big issue. That is a huge issue.
I think so, because in this day and age, Zennie, there's so many options.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to watch a team that's mediocre?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then not only that, as Rob Iman points out, ESPN is getting killed by cord cutting. So if ESPN is getting killed by cord cutting, it stands to reason that anybody else trying similar approaches is not doing well either. But back to the main question. Give me a prediction, if you are comfortable with Jimbo Fisher. How do you think he's going to do his inaugural season at Texas A&M?
Oh, his first year, he'll have a winning season, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because they haven't had a losing season, so.
True.
I mean, there's some talent there. I mean, Jimbo's a good football coach. There's no doubt he won a national championship, Florida State. So I think they'll have a winning season. The question is, let's say in 3 years from now, is he going to be challenging either Alabama in the West or whoever takes control of that division?
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to be playing for championships? Is he going to be in the last month of the season? Every game is like a playoff, because that's the way it is for Alabama throughout these years when they save it. Every game's a playoff game.
Hey, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're saying, go ahead.
So I was going to say that Jimbo Fisher, he's going to get the top level talent to attend Texas A&M and College Station, because in Texas there's hundreds of Division I players. It's just a question of your evaluation process. Are you selecting the right one?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the question is, will he do better than Kevin Sumlin? What say you?
I'd say if he can get someone to coach defense, because that's always been the problem at A&M. They score plenty of points, defensively. I think they've been atrocious, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you talk anything about the state of Texas, why can't they play defense? Why can't they stop people from scoring? I mean, just a little bit of defense would have changed the outcome for Kevin Sumlin.
Hey, do you think part of the problem? I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was saying it wasn't because they didn't try to get some good coaching. They had John Chambers. He's a long-time SEC defensive coordinator at Tennessee for many, many years. Then went to LSU and had a breakaway from there. It wasn't a clean break, but, so why can't they get someone to coach some defense or bring some defensive players into the mix? I mean, what's that big defensive end that was going to be drafted here from A&M, big tall player, good.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Right. In the NFL draft, I should have this. I should be able to whip this out really quick. Right. It escapes me, but it's only going to escape me for a bit because I'm typing the information right here, and the handy dandy trusty computer will theoretically at least give me the answer that I'm looking for, right? As we go through the list of Texas A&M recruits, you're thinking about the current NFL prospects. Are you thinking about Zakoven Henderson, the defensive tackle?
No, defensive end. He was a defensive end.
Okay.
But anyway, they had some defensive linemen that were able to rush the quarterback, but their overall defense was not good.
Mm-hmm.
Their overall defense was not good, and that's just been so puzzling for me throughout the years. Why is their defense not been able to be top echelon in the league?
I'm going to harbor a theory here, and I think it has to do with the offense A&M plays in the air raid style. Now, you're probably going to say, what do you mean, Zennie? My point is that I believe the kind of offense Kevin Sumlin played, it's no huddle. And so if you go 3 and out, it's a quick 3 and out because you don't have a huddle. It's bing, 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 and you're done.
Yes, that contributed to as well. And then if you play a hard-nosed team and you're not used to tackling ball players who are trying to rush the football, then that's a predicament that the defensive coaches can't seem to overcome. That was Myles Garrett. That was last year.
Myles Garrett, yeah.
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett, yeah.
Yeah, but in the last couple of years, they've had some defensive linemen that were very good rushing the passer.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, they weren't able to stop teams.
Yeah, my thought was that they get stopped, and eventually their defense gets winded from trying to corral these more conventional running attacks and run-oriented attacks. And next thing you know, you've got a loss where you should have a win. Barry Lee has a question. He wants to know, is it possible that the SEC is getting too big that it will hurt the conference in the long run more than it'll help?
I don't think so because the Power 5 conferences have all increased their numbers to 14, 16 teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think is the Pac-12 now about 14 or 16 teams?
It is. Yeah,
had the addition of Colorado and Utah.
That's right. Colorado, Utah, on top of Washington and Stanford and UCLA and the hated UC. Well, we hate all of them. If you went to Cal, as I did, because we're the top dog. You hate all of the other people.
I hear you.
But anyway, I don't want to get on a rant.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's either 14 or 16. I don't keep track. I mean, I know the schools and their conference. I just don't add them up at time. But it just seems, the Big Ten is about 14 or 16. The SEC's 14. The ACC is a bunch of teams.
Barry Lee says the Pac-12 is 16.
The Big 12 is the only one that's less than their number that's advertised. They're 10.
I've got it that the Pac-12 is 16 according to Barry Lee. Rob Iman says Group of 5 are the schools in some trouble in his view. Hey, and Rob Iman says something interesting. He says the Horns may start losing some boosters soon. Those are some well-moneyed people. And I want to ask you about the Vols. I mean, Vanderbilt. What does Derek Mason have to do to win? What is he not doing to produce a winning season?
Yeah, Vanderbilt has always been a team that has trouble scoring points.
Mm-hmm.
And so, consequently, there's always pressure on your defense. And, Zennie, for a fact that Vanderbilt's not getting the best players on defense.
No.
So it's like an avalanche. If they can't hang in the first quarter and the other team gets on top of them, and the ball game is usually over. They don't have the capability to come back from any type of big deficits. Last year, I think Alabama played one of their best games. The score was so big, I even forgot it. It was a total annihilation up there at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And because the week before, one of the linebackers or defensive players, I forgot, he said, Bama's up next, something to that effect. And so that was on the TV. And, of course, Alabama doesn't need any motivation, but some of the players of Alabama didn't like what he said. And
I remember that,
so they
too.
Just took it out on the Commodores. It was, 50-something points they scored or whatever it was. That was their right.
It was.
After a while, when you get to 30-point lead, you forget the final score.
That's sadly true. You do forget the final. You do forget the score, don't you?
Yes. There's no need to remember the specifics. You just know that was a bad day for the Commodores, and they didn't have the anchor holding anybody down that day.
No, it was 59-0.
59. I knew it was in the 50s. I was going to say 60, but I said, I don't think it was 60. I know it was 50s. So.
And I was about to say, why don't we just go ahead and give them the extra point, right? But with a score like that, I don't think they really need much help. Hey, now we're on with my friend AP Steadham, Alabama football expert, and let's shift at the 10:22 mark to a conversation about Alabama football in particular. We are talking about the reigning national champions, and from this lofty perch, what, in your view, is the state of Alabama football?
Oh, yeah. Nick Saban, as long as he's there at Alabama, he has them in contention for the championship every year because he's able to do a couple of things, Zennie. Number one, his recruiting is exceptional, and he's able to fly around the country to any state now. I call it the Notre Dame of the South. He can visit Maine to Alaska and find players. Hawaii, the quarterback, the starter should be Tua Tagovailoa from Hawaii. That would have never happened years ago. They had a punter last year, J.K. Scott, be in the draft. Probably he's from Colorado. They had a guard from Iowa, and Minnesota, and just players from unique places. Never been on Alabama's roster, maybe once in a while, but he can go to all kind of places and recruit players. He can look down to the junior colleges if he has a pressing need at, like, say, cornerback. They have Savion Smith, came from junior college, number one junior college cornerback, played at LSU initially. They have, Patrick Surtain was the number one cornerback coming out of high school from South Florida. So he's able to recruit big people as well. Then he get a ton of big people up front on the offensive and defensive side. So he can dominate those two areas. Not just be good. It's always usually very good or excellent on those two fronts. And football is about, preserving your front line or making, disrupting the other person's offense. So, Alabama's been very good having many All-Americans on the offensive line and the defensive line through the Saban era. He had two Heisman Trophy winners, never had a Heisman Trophy winner in Alabama. He's had countless All-Americans, first-team All-Americans, consensus All-Americans, all SEC players. He's had outstanding wide receivers, drafted number one, running backs drafted number one, offensive linemen drafted number one, defensive linemen drafted number one, linebackers drafted number one, cornerbacks and safeties drafted number one. Tight end, O.J. Howard, first time ever in Alabama's history, technically, because Ozzie Newsome was really a wide receiver to Alabama, and he became a tight end in the pros. So the only place they haven't had a number one draftee is at quarterback, and, of course, the punter and kicker. I'm not including them. But they've had number one draft choices at every position on the field except quarterback, kicker, and punter.
And speaking
number one center. They've had number one centers.
Yeah, that's right. Too. Speaking of quarterback, what's wrong with Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts' record at Alabama as a starter is 26-2. 26-2.
That's pretty good.
Okay?
That's pretty good.
He was about 1 or 2 seconds away from winning the championship as a high school freshman He scored a touchdown with about 2:35 left. He ran about 25, 30 yards, put his team ahead. The number one defense in the country, Alabama, had the 68 yards between them and a national championship. But Clemson had a player named Deshaun Watson.
Ooh.
Let him down the field, and they scored with a second or two. And that's why Jalen Hurts didn't have a championship as a starter, per se. He's very good at running the football. He can make some throws, but overall he's limited because he does not have the peripheral vision, and he does not throw with anticipation and timing. And consequently, he holds the ball a little bit too long, gets sacked, and the receivers became so frustrated by the end of the season, Zennie, that they were ready for a change. During the Sugar Bowl, which is the semifinal last year, he was out of practice because he had the flu, and Tua Tagovailoa, the freshman quarterback from Hawaii, was getting all the first-team reps, and he was on fire. So look for him to be the starting quarterback. I think Jalen will transfer from Alabama here fairly soon.
Whoa! So hold on a second. I gotta tweet this out. AP.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I gotta hit share. Hold on a second, folks.
I mean,
excuse me while I tweet this out. It's like
yeah, you're gonna get me in trouble.
Jalen Hurts to leave.
Yeah, just be real careful how you Zennie.
Okay.
Please be very careful how you word this, because believe me, I'll get phone calls about what I'm saying is that is my prediction. I'm not stating that's going to happen. That's just what I think.
Oh, I get you.
So be real careful how you word that, because
to make you happy, I put Jalen Hurts to leave Crimson Tide with a question mark. I put a question mark on
right.
it.
Yeah.
I didn't make it as an absolute. Okay. As much as I want.
I'm not stating. Yeah, I'm not making a statement that he's leaving.
Right.
I'm making a prediction that I believe he will leave.
But that said, you told me that Nick Saban was caught making a comment on a hot mic. What did he say?
Yes, it's something to the effect that even the third string quarterback is moving it down the field with the pass.
Wow. Whereas Hurts was intercepted.
His last pass, I believe, was intercepted.
Pass, yeah.
His last pass of the eight-day spring game was intercepted.
But overall, his numbers weren't all that bad. They were comparable to the Georgia numbers for their new guy. So, I mean, he was in the ballpark of performing okay. But of course, Alabama, you want better. Hey, by the way, Barry Belize says Red McCombs, if he has his way, will eventually get Nick Saban from Alabama. He says because he says it all the time. He wants him at Texas. What do you think about that?
No, Coach Saban, he's about 66 right now, I believe. So he'll be 68, or he'll be 67, I guess. In October, he's born on Halloween. But he's set at Alabama. He's trained everyone. He's trained the fans, the alumni, the media, all the staff and personnel at the university administration. So he's not up to retraining everybody. He's fine at Alabama. And his wife is Miss Terry. She's very comfortable in Tuscaloosa, and she's, let's just say, her words are taken seriously.
Hey, I got to ask you a question, a little off Alabama topic for a second, but this just popped into my head because I thought it was such a first compelling and yet funny story. You remember this name, Jessica Dorrell?
Just refresh me right quick.
Arkansas football.
Was she with the Bobby Petrino?
Exactly. She was caught on April Fool's Day, I might add.
Okay.
The report was he had an accident. Bobby Petrino did. He gave a press conference, bloodied. I'm not kidding you, bloodied, and said he was the only person on the motorcycle. But the reporters weren't buying it, and to make a long story short, turned out that he had her on the back of his motorcycle, and they had an affair. Now,
Okay.
Arkansas football, where is it since the Jessica Durrell controversy and Brent Bolima going out?
Yeah, I mean, he tried his best to get it going there. He was a style that he brought from Wisconsin, run the
Mm-hmm.
football and be a power team. And he was kind of on a plateau, 7 wins or so a season. So he had his run and wasn't able to get to the mountaintop. So they came in with Chad Morris from SMU. He throws the football around a little bit more. So, look for them to have that high-powered type of offense in the future. It's going to take him a while to get his certain receivers there and quarterbacks. But so that's what happened when Bobby Petrino made the exit.
Hey, now let's come back to Alabama football. I just had to get that in there because something you said made me think of Jessica Dorrell. That was a big story here at Zennie62. I have videos from that scene over 200,000 times combined. Now, on the matter of Alabama football right now and what we're talking about, what
Mm-hmm.
is your prediction? Repeat national champions? Or do you think that Georgia gives them a tussle, or do we have a surprise in A&M? What do you see for Alabama football, and how do we get there? And also, I want to answer. I want you to answer that one. I got to ask you about the whole situation with defenders, who's coming back, who to watch out for, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think when I'm trying to evaluate the season, Zenny, I'm looking at the quarterback who can beat you single-handedly,
Mm-hmm.
even though they might not have the best offensive line. If it's close in the fourth quarter, they can manage to get the pass off if they're running for the sidelines or scrambling around or just quickly get it out of their hands to make a play. So Missouri comes to town middle of the season, October, I think. So they have one of the better quarterbacks in the league. The other team that has a very good quarterback is Auburn. They have a very Jarrett Stidham, by the way, is the quarterback of Auburn. They come to town to Tuscaloosa, the 2 home games, and then Alabama also has to face Mississippi State, and their quarterback gave Alabama a bad time last year as well, and they come to town. So those 3 teams have quarterbacks that can be disruptive and be a force and create havoc for a defense. So, but I don't see, and Alabama has to go down to LSU, and I hadn't even mentioned them. I think their talent level is downgraded in the last year or so. I don't think they've recruited as well, and they can't seem to find an offensive coordinator that can increase the production of their quarterbacks. So Alabama, they can play Alabama tough on defense. Those things.
Huh.
They played pretty tough on defense sometime when Coach O was there. Coach Ogeron.
Yeah.
So and Alabama has to go down to Baton Rouge, and so Alabama's defense is going to have a whole new secondary except one player, and they'll have 2. Will probably be the first-time starter going down to Baton Rouge. So, but I think Alabama's chances to make it to the championship game of the SEC as a Western Division representative are excellent. I don't think anybody's going to seriously challenge them. To beat Alabama, you have to have a good quarterback play that day.
Mm-hmm.
No interceptions, no turnovers. You have to be able to stop Alabama from running the football, get them to throw the football, and then even then, it still might not be in your favor because they have these 4 and 5-star receivers, and Tua, you saw what he did in the championship game. He's very effective. He's much like a Kenny Stabler type, the way he can survey the field and stand back there and just throw those darts with accuracy.
You think?
So I like to answer your question. I think Georgia definitely could challenge Alabama in that championship game of the league.
Even with Georgia's reliance on, or it would seem they're going to be a pass-happy offense this year, lacking that powerful running game with Sony Michel and Nick Chubb.
Yes.
Even with that, you believe Georgia?
Well, I just think that recruited well over the years, and they had a freshman running back with a 3rd ball carrier last year, pretty good player from Pennsylvania. I think he was pretty tough.
Right.
You don't need, it's nice to have 2 or 3 of them, but you only need one that's effective. So he's a good-looking running back. in the quarterback situation, they'll pick one of those players. They'll do the job, I'm sure. But they lose that top linebacker going to the draft. But they have the roster that can man up with Alabama, because you like I say, you just can't show up and finesse and win against Alabama. You have to have something up front to challenge Alabama if you're going to have any thoughts of winning the game.
We've talked, you and I, a lot about Nick Saban and try to get in his head and figure out what makes him tick. But what's Kirby Smart like, and what makes him tick? How is he different and similar to Nick Saban?
Yeah, I think he has more of that nervous energy on the sideline, I would say, Zennie. Nick Saban, he's got his arms folded sometimes. He has command of his team, and you don't see him with all the gyrations so frequently. It'll happen. It'll happen eventually if there's a tough call by an official, or a quarterback makes the wrong call, or a player doesn't cover the receiver, or linebackers goes offside, or defensive lineman, does something, hits the quarterback. But Kirby's always kind of jumping around. It seems like he just has that energy, nervous energy. So, but I guess they're pretty similar in the fact that they're both very intense, and they both played defensive back in college, so that's their specialty. So Kirby, he tried to implement all those things that he learned under Nick Saban at the University of Georgia. So he's still in the process of probably taking care of every facet of the program, but that's his goal, to kind of duplicate what Alabama has done.
How do you think he's doing so far?
Oh yeah, they came within about 2 plays from beating Alabama, so that's pretty good in 2 years.
Yeah, I would say this is quite exceptional. Now,
yes.
I want to shift gears a little bit, still on Alabama football, but this week is very special. You want to tell the viewers what's going on this weekend, AP?
Yes, this week, Zennie, is the 50th celebration of the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. And just to give the viewers an idea of some of the people in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, you start off with Coach Bryant of Alabama, Sher Jordan of Auburn, you have Bo Jackson, Joe Namath, Kenny Stabler, Carl Lewis, Ozzie Smith, Henry Aaron, Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, people like Billy Williams. I'm trying to think of some more football players. Leroy Jordan is in there.
Yeah. Dallas Cowboys middle linebacker.
And this week, the inductees will be Stuart Sink, the golfer. Huntsville Dabo Sweet was a walk-on at Alabama, earned a scholarship, the coach of Clemson. You also have Terrell Owens. He's from Alexander City, played at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga.
So wait. I got to ask you. Wait. T.O. is in the Hall of Fame. So
he'll be in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame this year, and then he goes into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in August.
Exactly my point. So this is really a banner year for Terrell Owens after so many years of being disrespected, made fun of. I've always thought he was an incredible person who deserved to be in the NFL Hall of Fame, and now he's in the Alabama Hall of Fame. Can you say a few words about Terrell Owens? I'm very happy for him. I think that's amazing news.
Yeah, I saw him the other day. Julio Jones actually opened a Kia and Mazda auto dealership in Tuscaloosa. And Terrell was at the opening, and they were standing next to each other. Julio was slightly bigger, a little bit broad shoulder, and maybe a little slightly taller. So, but he's very gifted, tall, big receiver, can run effectively, strong, in tremendous shape. He had these unbelievable games, 20 catches in a game, and 1,000 plus receptions. And he must have 100 touchdowns, right? He must have 100 touchdowns.
Absolutely. Yeah, over that.
Yeah. So, he did it for a long time. His whole issue, I think, was with his teammates. I think to some degree, and his effectiveness of being a teammate that made everyone around him better. I think that was a question mark.
But now, hey, all that's in the past. He's a Hall of Famer. That's incredible news. Hey, what do you think? Okay, going back to this event on the weekend. I'm sorry. What is there a way for viewers to catch the proceedings online or live stream?
Yeah, no, there's no live stream that I know of, Zenny. But if people around Birmingham, Alabama, you can still buy tickets. You get online there, go to the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, and there's a number. I don't have it in front of me, but you can buy some tickets. The banquet is on Saturday night, and I've heard that like 60 former inductees will be present. I mean, you have people that in that Hall of Fame, Artis Gilmore.
Wow.
I mean, Leon Douglas, Travis Grant from Kentucky State. That's going way back.
Yeah.
He was a top scorer in the NAI years ago. Andrew Toney, Enos Watley. I'm trying to think some other names. You would be from Bobby Humphrey.
Yes.
Pat Dye.
Bobby Humphrey went on to play for the Falcons, right?
Bobby Humphrey played for the Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos, right? Yeah.
He was Offensive Rookie of the Year in the AFC, and Derek Thomas in the same year was the Defensive Rookie of the Year, both from Alabama.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Both came out that same year. Yeah, Cornelius Bennett's in that Hall of Fame. Marty Lyons.
Oh, Marty Lyons, the New York Jet. Yeah.
New York Jet. Yeah, Marty's in there, of course. And Pat Sullivan, Heisman Trophy winner. And I mentioned Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Gene Stallings is in that Hall of Fame as well.
The great Dallas Cowboys assistant, Gene Stallings. I remember him.
Right. Correct. Right. He coached the secondary under Tom
Landry. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's some exceptional people, especially baseball too. Zenny. I mean, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays. I mean, that's an incredible list of people. Tommy Agee, Sean Alexander, Mel Allen. The Allison brothers.
Yeah.
Bobby Davy and Donnie. Mm-hmm. Race car drivers. Charles Barkley, of course. Joe Lewis.
Hey, is Charles Barkley going to be at the event this weekend?
I don't know, but I wouldn't doubt it. He might come back since Terrell Owens is going in, but he might be doing the basketball too.
Have you met Charles Barkley?
I have met him a time or two. I sure have.
What's he like?
Yes. Yeah, he was very, very nice. He's fun, and he's very engaging and personal. Yeah, personal. Sure, he was great.
It sounds like a great time had by all, but not only that, you have also a documentary you're working on, right?
Yes, absolutely, Zenny. Working on a documentary called The Wishbone Boys. Please have folks take a look at our website, wishboneboys.com. And that was an offense that Coach Bryant used for 12 of his 25 years at Alabama, from 71 to 82. And he had back-to-back 6-win seasons, and there was a lot of grumbling going on about the program, primarily from him. He was the biggest critic, only winning 6 games 2 years in a row. So they had been beaten by University of Southern California in Birmingham in 1970, 42-21. It could have been a higher score, but John McKay was his friend, and that was the game where Sam Cunningham ran over all the Alabama team.
I'm showing
about 130 yards or so, and then the next year, so Alabama's going through spring. They're running their regular pro set offense with the passing scheme, and Coach Bryant has this epiphany that he says we're going to do something different. So he contacts the University of Texas with Darrell Royal, who had implemented the wishbone in 1968 and went on to a good season. I think they had 1 loss and 1 tie, and then they won the national championship in 1969. That was the last white champion. 1969 team was all white. 1969 they beat Arkansas, the big shootout game, and then beat Notre Dame, who hadn't played in the bowl since 1927. They played in the Cotton Bowl in 1970. And they beat Notre Dame 21-17 the last 2-3 minutes. And so anyway, so Darrell Royal's assistants, they got together and they learned the offense in the hotel room. And Alabama, 3 weeks when they showed up for 3 weeks to get ready for University of Southern California. They were supposed to play on a Friday night, September 10th, 1971. Coach Bryant brought everybody into the room and said, boys, we're going to sink or swim with this offense. And he told the coaches the same thing. They could hit the road if they didn't want to stay around. And so they went up on University of Southern California 17 to zip, hung on, and University of Southern California scored 10 points. It was 17-10 at halftime. Nobody scored in the second half. So Alabama upset University of Southern California, USC, on that Friday at the LA Memorial Coliseum, and went out to win 100 games for a decade, which had never been done. And Coach Bryant had 3 more national championships.
And as you were talking, I am showing the Wishbone Boys website, which is well done. It is in Crimson Tide colors. You're all very welcome. And very exciting. I mean, I have to ask, where is this documentary at? Are you in the fundraising stages? It looks like you're. Where are you?
Yeah, we're 90%. We say we're 90% because we just have about 3 or 4 more interviews, and we've interviewed probably 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
You could look on the front page and see the trailer there, Zennie. You could also look on the news tab as well for more trailers that we have listed. And so we're 90+% done with the photography, and then we have to edit. We have to put in the music and the game footage and edit, and we're also in the process of securing funding for national sponsors. We think it's going to be on CBS Sports Network in the fall. That's our goal. That's what they would like to put it on. We're just trying to get that funding done.
Who's the director of this? How is this being shot and everything?
Oh, yeah. Well, you can look on the About section there, Zennie, on the tab. And I'm one of the producers. And then Tim Card, who was the stunt double for John Schneider on the Dukes of Hazzard. He's a director, and
I see.
Buffy Dolan's name there.
It's Tim Card, Buffy Dolan.
Tim Card, correct.
Donlan, excuse me. Tim Card, Buffy Dolan, the UAP Steadham, and Michelle Ryan?
Correct, that's right. Yeah, Michelle's a great writer. She marries words better than any clergy.
I love it.
Yeah. And she's very good, very talented. And Buffy's dad actually is in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. Fred Davis, who played for Washington, I think, in Chicago as well. Yeah, he was quite a ball player in his day, Fred Davis.
Hey, so you can go to the wishboneboys.com and donate if you want to, or is that part of it?
Well, anybody interested in helping us out, there's a way to contact us there, I believe. There's an email address, I think. So, yeah, we're always looking for funds and trying to, finishing up funds for this last little few interviews and reenactments. We're probably going to have a couple reenactments, too. We think we have lined up maybe Sonny Schroeder, who played in the Dukes of Hazzard. He played in that, and he also played Coach Bryant in the Forrest Gump movie.
So so you say reenactments? Do you need? You sound like you already have the actor, right? But you just need the funds to pay the actor to do the scenes, right?
Yeah, to do the scene, just finish up, and then of course we get some funds. If somebody wants to get in touch with us, please reach out.
Well, they've got the events, who we are, the documentary home. I think the contact information is down below here. Yeah, where it says connect. So if you just go, you can email them. You can follow them on Twitter, YouTube. But as you speak here, is there one phone number a person can call? Because that's not clearly marked on the website.
I don't think we have a phone number, but probably best to email at this point. Be fine.
What email do you want? What email do you want them to use?
Zennie, you see one on the website there? I don't have it pulled up at the moment.
I've got it looks like it says it's Wishbone Boys. Is Wishbone Boys wishboneboys@gmail.com is what it appears to say here.
Okay, yeah. And what I was going to say also is, Zennie, if they want to reach out, I'm on Twitter and Facebook. They can reach out to me there at AP Steadham. They can do that as well.
And it's Wishbone Boys. Sorry, folks, I was paring down here. That's why you only saw my head. It's wishboneboys@gmail.com. That's the email contact. The website is, as you saw earlier, wishboneboys.com, or you can follow
Right.
AP Steadham on Twitter, or you can do all the above, right? But
Yes.
this is
Yes.
exciting
Absolutely.
because I remember the wishbone, and I remember how powerful Alabama was in running it, and how much it seemed it was lost on the modern football game. Let me put it this way: I haven't seen something I thought then and still think now would work, a wishbone shotgun passing attack. You know, I really.
Well, I would say run it on the 20-yard line. Just all of a sudden put the wishbone in at the 20-yard line. The teams will have to scramble to match up, and they're not used to covering that type of scheme, and you'd surprise them, and you could score from the 20-yard line.
Or how about taking all the wishbone guys and putting them like to one side? Let's say put the fullback over to the, instead of being behind the quarterback, put the fullback over behind the guard. Let's say on the right, or left, on the left, and then the halfback would be behind the quarterback. But then bring the quarterback back and take that halfback and put him over on the opposite side of the quarterback, and suddenly you've got really a wishbone four-backs back there, if you think about it, right? There's a lot of interesting combinations.
Well, then you confuse me just saying it, so I can imagine trying to tackle somebody.
I think we're on to something. Hey, I gotta ask you before we sign off at 10:52, but I think it's a good way to close on a note of about Amari Cooper, because the Raiders.
Yes.
And I want to get out of the way before I get that. Barry Lee had a point he wanted out there. He said he wonders what the SEC policy is regarding sports agents and contributions. Do they follow NCAA rules, or does the SEC go further than enforcing NCAA rules? What do you know about that?
Yeah, I don't know, but I know that you can talk to an agent. I don't know. Barry understands that part of the scenario, that you can talk to an agent at any time. That you just can't have him buy you any meals or give anybody in your family money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the situation. I mean, Alabama brings in their agents, certain agents, to speak to the potential players that will be drafted. So they're right in the middle of the process. They don't leave things to chance. They want you to be informed and make a good decision and select an agent based on the knowledge.
And he wonders that, he asks if the SEC and maybe the Pac-12, in your opinion, have follow NCAA basketball and have a sort of an NIT type tournament or invitational between 2 or 4 teams that didn't make the conference game.
Yeah, I know right now the SEC, they have the matchup with the Big 12 in basketball. Like last year, Alabama played Oklahoma. Well, they played Texas as well, but they played Oklahoma, and they were matched up. They have that challenge. The ACC, I think, is with the Big 10,
mm-hmm.
and the SEC is with the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the Pac-12, they have a challenge with another Power 5 conference. I'm not familiar.
Yeah, Barry says he means football, if that's possible to do.
Yeah, football. Yeah, in other words, well, here's something for Barry. Right now, I'm pretty sure that Alabama's going to play University of Southern California again in 2020 in Arlington, Texas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that'll be another match. They played in 2016 to open the season.
Right. We sure did.
And they weren't. USC was not ready for that game.
We have to talk about that in the next show, but I want to talk to you and get your opinion about the Raiders' announcement that they were going to exercise the option on Amari Cooper. What do you think about that?
They're going to exercise. They believe in him,
huh? Apparently, they say that they do. They haven't made a final decision, but they floated it out there that they were thinking about doing that. Now, there's with respect to Amari Cooper, they haven't made a firm decision yet. I feel that the Raiders.
I'll tell you.
Sure.
Go ahead, Benny. I'll hear you first. But I have an opinion.
I feel the Raiders have misused Amari Cooper. As I said before, he's used to being the big man and being a featured receiver, And he came to the Raiders, and I think the Raiders expected him to make plays on his own, regardless of what they put him in. Rather, they design an offense to take advantage of his capabilities and make him, well, frankly speaking, feel like the big man on campus once again, the person that they valued in to deliver in terms of receptions based on the skill set he had. To me, if you have a guy that's as shifty as Amari Cooper, you don't put him in a wide receiver screen, which is what they did. You put him in for formations where he starts off in the backfield, goes in motion, put him in rub situations where he clearly gets the pass and he has some room to run. If you give him room to run, he can be very effective. But the Raiders didn't do that. So I feel that Amari Cooper, if the Raiders go in the direction of allowing him to leave, it would be a huge mistake. And there's some of that discussion out there right now.
Mari Cooper, he's a very conscientious young man. You saw how he performed earlier in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He was a dynamic player, and I think he can recapture those moments, especially now that he had some difficulties last season.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to believe if you're going to purchase a stock that's rising, bet on Amari Cooper, because I believe that he's going to come back and be strong this season.
Hey, there you go. AP, we've managed to pack a lot into one great hour of talk. And this has been a lot of fun. And tight, I might add. This is great. I mean...
I've enjoyed every moment, Zennie. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thank you for being here. This is really great. And hey, wait a minute. We have, and you are a participant in, our Wednesday night NFL mock draft. So we'll see each other again. And I'm happy to announce that it will be AP Steadham here, longtime NFL draft analyst Bill Carroll. I don't know if you've met Bill Carroll or not, but you guys have been in the same room. And Money Scott, who is a regular Zennie62 viewer, and myself right now. And we're due to add at least, I would say, 2 other people, making it 6. But this is Wednesday night at 10:30. So that's Eastern, which is 9:30 Central, okay? Which is 7:30 on the West Coast. All right? So I'm really excited to get that going. And AP, I'm glad that you are going to be with us.
Looking forward to it, and it'll be a lot of fun. The draft is always interesting, and
isn't it though?
And
yeah.
It's one person has an opinion about a quarterback or a defensive end, or it just takes that one person to make somebody happy. That young person that's going to be drafted.
Hey, do you have a particular favorite you're tracking?
On the quarterback side, I'm interested to see what's going to happen to Lamar Jackson.
Ditto. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, the other ones could go anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm a New York Jets fan, and they need a quarterback, but they haven't been very successful in their selections at the quarterback position.
Hey, so where do you think Lamar Jackson's going to go?
Zennie, I don't have any idea at this moment. I really don't.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's either going to the Dolphins or the Raiders. Or maybe the Bengals. You think
in the first round or the second?
Oh, he's definitely a first round. If he falls to the second, that's a crime. That's a complete crime. But Lamar Jackson...
Yeah. But and then looking at quarterbacks, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, all these quarterbacks that are going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone was taken in their first round, and everything turned out well.
That's true. It's just that, for me, if he wasn't taken in the first round, it would be because of stupid comments like the one that Bill Polian made about him being a wide receiver. In other words, it wouldn't be about anything that was truly concrete. And let's face it, if Deshaun Watson can do what he did in the league last year, there's no reason why Lamar Jackson can't. It just has to have the right situation, as we've talked about. So But I would be shocked if he fell out of the first round. I would be completely shocked. That would be a crime, kind of like against. That would be a crime like the NFL's committee against Colin Kaepernick. That's how I look at it. So I'm serious.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. Okay.
There might be someone that's laying in the weeds, not really playing their, playing their cards close to the vest.
Could be the Browns.
Doing a couple of cliches there so you can follow, right?
Could be the Browns. They might take him. I cannot see Sam Darnold being the guy. I feel that Sam Darnold was a product of the T. Martin offense far more than his own personal production. I'm not saying he was a bad quarterback, but I'm saying that in that offense, it was like putting on an Iron Man suit for him because it gave him a short throw. It gave him a power running game. It gave him creative use of line splits. There was a lot packed into that offense that didn't meet the unaided eye. And I was really always impressed with what I saw, the game plans I saw from T. Martin. Less so Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was, to me, that guy, and he did it against Cal, who was good for throwing that interception or two to keep the opponent in the game. Okay?
He made a lot of mistakes last year.
Yeah, and so I'm not sold on him, and yet he's been pushed up there in this manufactured consent that I call the NFL draft as the guy. And then if it's not him, it's Josh Allen. I'm saying, wait a minute. You got a guy here in Lamar Jackson who is a bona fide Heisman Trophy winner already, almost won it twice, and yet you have a hard time giving him the credit he's due and respect that he's due and just sending him off on the NFL team. I hope that NFL general managers don't pay attention to that crap and make the right decision with respect to Lamar Jackson.
Well, you're going to find out very early, Zennie, because quarterback is the most valued position. So if you go through the entire first round and he's not selected, then it means that they all believe that he's not the guy in this year's draft. But that doesn't mean somebody won't draft him as a quarterback down the road in the lower rounds.
I just think that whoever gets him is getting an electric player, and he's going to make the NFL pay if that happens. I really believe he's of Randy Moss caliber, but at quarterback.
Yes, Zennie, we'll get into this on Wednesday maybe, but let me ask you this question. Sure. When you look at Lamar Jackson, and I'm asking this purely as a question, what can he do that Robert Griffith III can't?
Easy. He is more decisive with respect to where the ball goes. And Robert Robert was, you have to remember something, Robert played in a more of a read option system, but Lamar Jackson played in really more of a pro set, because what Bobby Petrino installed was in a number of cases the same offense that Teddy Bridgewater ran, and yet there's this hue and cry about Lamar Jackson being this spread, offense running quarterback. And when I hear that, I think, okay, that person did not watch a second of Louisville football, because if they did, they would have seen Lamar Jackson occasionally take the ball under center. They would have seen him throw passes in a more of a conventional way. All you got to do, folks, is go to YouTube, type Lamar Jackson, and watch the passes that he throws and watch the formations that he operates out of. And you will agree with me that there has been an incredibly high level of malpractice committed against this fellow, this young man. Really, So there you go. It's 11:05, and we got a lot of ground to cover on Wednesday. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm looking forward to it. Folks, remember something.
Me too.
Wishboneboys.com. Okay? Check the website out. Help out, donate if you can. Make sure this thing gets made. It's a documentary that everybody wants to see, myself included. Wishboneboys.com. The email is wishboneboys@gmail.com. AP Steadham, my longtime friend, one of the executive producers. Get involved. Make it happen. All right, AP, I'm gonna get out of your hair.
Okay, thank you, Zennie. Really appreciate it.
You got it, man.
And thank you for your audience as well.
You got it, man. I'll see you. Okay.
Yeah. Goodbye now.
Okay, see you. That is my friend AP, who has this incredible documentary he's working on. We once again had a great conversation, and we're going to be back. We'll be back talking about that on Wednesday. Yeah, that was fun, Barely. Thanks. And I'm doing a lot more of this because Rob Ivan says God bless him, because the overall problem is that the popularity of this channel increased with the whole Raiders issue. But even with that, in that was a double-edged sword, because what it got me are people who are pissed off Raider fans who don't want to have anything to do with the NFL, whereas I cover the NFL and I cover sports. So once they're pissed off and they leave, that hurts me, right? So I have to focus on what it is that I really enjoy, which is, well, SEC, Pac-12 football, college football, NFL, sports. I want to talk about women's rugby. So I want this to be more rounded, celebrities, and so I have to grow the base, because what's going on is, since the Las Vegas decision, and of course the march toward the completion of the worst stadium deal in history, I'm still intensely interested in it, but you have this gigantic crowd of people that only looks at what's approved, and they think, okay, well, it's done, I don't need to pay attention to it, right? Because their entire well-being, it seems, is rests on the do or die, or excuse me, did it happen or not of a meeting. And I look at that differently. But again, I go back to this. It's a small group, it's a small subset of people. And they're not fans, they drop off. And so I have to go back and get the fandom. And that's what I'm doing here by leaning on people who are professional sports reporters and writers and bringing them on the show. AP is one of them. Big thing. All right, folks, I'm going to shove off the Buffalo. We'll be back tomorrow. And Barry Lee says the bandwagon people. And Joseph Binsman says that he prefers... Ooh, that's a wind out there, folks. If you're wondering what that was, I had to check the weather report. Wow. Did you hear that wind? Woo. You heard that? Let me see this. I hope there's not a... Let me see what the weather here is. I hope there's not a warning or something like that I'm not aware of, Hold on a second. Let me see what... Let's see here. Okay. Weather. How about weather? There's weather. It's 59 degrees. Light rain showers. That didn't sound like it was very light to me. But no bad stuff. No bad stuff. Yeah. So far I'm in the clear. We're in the clear. I'm not the only one around here. So yeah. It's just raining a lot. All right. I'll see you guys later, all right? Good night, everybody. Again, I will catch you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah. All right. See you guys later. Thanks. See ya.